The morning fog was slowly lifting, revealing the small human settlement in full light. Smoke from chimneys curled into the air, and the usual quiet of the village felt different. Something had changed. Fear lingered in every corner, whispering to every villager. Inside the council chamber, a large hall built from stone and metal, the leaders of the settlement gathered urgently. The chamber smelled of old wood and cold metal, and the sunlight falling through the high windows highlighted the tension on every face. They were discussing the unthinkable, the attack on Eli, the child, and what it meant for all of them. Council Elder Marin, a tall man with a graying beard and sharp eyes, slammed his hand on the table. "This cannot go unanswered," he said. "They dared to strike a child in our settlement. We cannot let fear control us." Murmurs ran through the room. Some were afraid, others angry. A few shook with shock. No one could deny the horror of the attack. "They are not ordinary raiders," another council member said, pointing at a small map of the area. "Their symbols, their weapons, these creatures have attacked settlements across distant planets. They are organized, dangerous. We need a plan." A young warrior stepped forward. Her name was Kayla. She was barely 20, but her eyes were fierce and filled with determination. Her hands rested on the hilt of her sword, though she had not drawn it yet. "I will find the child," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I will track them and bring him back safely." Some council members gasped. It was dangerous. No human had ever dared approach these alien raiders before. Many had been lost in previous attacks. But Kayla's gaze did not waver. "We cannot wait," she continued. "The child is our future. If we lose him, we lose more than one life." Elder Marin studied her for a long moment. He could see the courage in her eyes. "Very well," he said finally. "Kayla will go, but she will not go alone. We must provide her supplies, weapons, and knowledge. And someone must watch the settlement while she is away." Kayla nodded, already planning in her mind how she would move through the hills and forests. The council handed her maps, simple gadgets, and small weapons made for stealth. She did not need heavy armor. Speed and cleverness were her allies. Meanwhile, villagers peered through windows and doors, their eyes wide with worry. Parents whispered prayers for Eli. Children clung to their mothers. But among them, whispers of hope grew too. If Kayla could succeed, it would prove that humans were not weak, that they could fight back. As Kayla prepared to leave, she noticed a strange shimmer on the map, symbols left by the alien raiders. She did not understand them, but she felt a chill. The aliens were clever. They had plans beyond mere attack. This was more than a raid. It was a message. The council room was silent for a moment. The weight of the situation pressed down on everyone. If Kayla failed, the settlement could be next. If she succeeded, it would inspire humans everywhere. Fear and hope intertwined in a fragile balance. Outside, the fog began to thin completely. Birds returned to the trees, but even they seemed cautious. The wind carried whispers of the alien presence. Somewhere in the distance, Eli was still held captive, unaware of the human courage building to save him. Kayla tightened her pack, checked her weapons, and glanced back at the council chamber. Elder Marin met her eyes, nodding. "Trust yourself. Trust what it means to be human," he said quietly. "And remember, even the smallest spark can light a fire." Kayla took a deep breath and stepped out into the light. The settlement faded behind her, replaced by the rolling hills, forests, and misty valleys that hid the alien raiders. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with determination. Every step brought her closer to danger, and to a chance to prove that humans could face the galaxy's deadliest threats. As she moved, shadows shifted among the trees. The aliens were aware someone was following them. They had not expected a human to move so boldly, so quickly. Small sensors hummed. Lights blinked across the forest floor, and the raiders whispered orders in their strange language. Kayla remained hidden, silent as a shadow, her eyes fixed on the distant glint of the glowing stone Eli still held. The council chamber, now behind her, remained tense. Elder Marin leaned over the table, whispering to himself, "May the humans survive what comes next. May they survive their own courage." Every villager knew the stakes. A child had been taken. A warrior had stepped forward. And somewhere beyond the hills, a story of survival, bravery, and human defiance was beginning to unfold. In that quiet, tense morning, one truth became clear. Humans were not powerless. And the aliens would soon learn that attacking a human child could awaken something far greater than fear. It could awaken wrath, courage, and an unbreakable spirit. The sun climbed higher in the sky, but Kayla moved carefully beneath the forest canopy. The air was thick with mist, and the forest seemed alive with hidden eyes. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves made her heart beat faster. But she did not show fear. She could not. Eli's life depended on her. The trail the aliens had left was faint. Footprints in soft soil, broken branches, and scattered leaves told a story if one knew how to read it. Kayla knelt, examining each mark. Her fingers traced the impressions carefully. Someone had been here recently, and they were moving fast. A sudden movement made her freeze. Shadows danced between the trees, unnatural shapes that seemed too large for normal animals. Kayla drew a deep breath and crouched behind a fallen log. Her eyes followed the movement. Alien scouts, just like the ones who had taken Eli, were patrolling the path ahead. Their glowing red eyes scanned the area, searching, alert, dangerous. Kayla waited, silent as a shadow, and studied their patterns. She noticed something. They moved in circles, almost like they were guarding something important. That must be where Eli was. But she could not rush. One wrong step, one careless sound, and the child could be lost forever. She moved slowly, stepping over roots and fallen branches, keeping her eyes on patrol. Her mind raced. These creatures were not just raiders. They were organized, intelligent, and deadly. Each step was a balance of caution and courage. She had to stay hidden, but she had to stay close. Suddenly, a strange device hummed nearby. A soft, blue light blinked from under a pile of leaves. Kayla froze. It was a trap, no doubt about it. Her heart pounded, but she didn't panic. Carefully, she disarmed it, noting how the device worked. The aliens were clever. They had planned this far ahead. She continued forward, deeper into the forest. The mist thickened, and the sounds of the forest seemed louder. The chirping of birds, the rustle of small creatures, and the faint hum of alien technology. She could feel the tension building. Every step might bring her closer to Eli, or to danger. Then she heard it. A faint cry, muffled but unmistakable. Eli! Her heart leapt. She quickened her pace, keeping low, moving from tree to tree. She saw a small camp in the distance, surrounded by more alien guards. Eli was there, held in a glowing cage. He looked scared, but he was alive. Kayla studied the camp carefully. The aliens were not paying full attention. They assumed no human would come this far. She counted them, noted their positions, and observed their habits. Every detail mattered. Every second mattered. A sudden movement startled her. One alien scout had noticed something. A shadow, a sound. Its glowing eyes turned toward her direction. Kayla froze. Slowly, she ducked behind a tree. Her breath came in shallow, quiet gasps. The alien scanned the area, then moved on, unaware of how close she had come. Kayla knew this was only the beginning. The aliens were clever, but she had something they underestimated. Human ingenuity and courage. She moved carefully, silently, learning the patrol patterns and the layout of the camp. She noted weak points, places where she could sneak in, and the position of the glowing cage. As she observed, she saw the Warlord for the first time. A massive figure, taller than any human, with dark, shimmering armor and a crown-like structure on its head. It moved with authority, commanding the aliens with strange gestures and sounds. Kayla's heart pounded harder. This was the being behind the attack, the one responsible for Eli's capture. But fear did not stop her. Kayla took a deep breath, steadying herself. She could not rush. One wrong move, and Eli's life would be lost. She began planning her approach, calculating the steps she would take to reach the child, disable the guards, and escape. Every second was critical. The forest seemed to hold its breath with her. Mist swirled around, hiding the path, hiding dangers, and hiding hope. Kayla felt a surge of determination. She had tracked the aliens this far. She had studied their behavior. Now, she was ready to act. In the distance, Eli cried out again. The sound cut through the forest, urgent and desperate. Kayla's resolve hardened. She whispered to herself, "Hold on, Eli. I'm coming. I will not fail you." The stage was set. The tracking had brought her to the edge of the enemy camp, where the real danger awaited. And in that moment, Kayla understood something profound. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. The forest held its secrets. The alien prepared their defenses, and Kayla prepared to strike. The rescue, the battle, and the test of human determination were about to begin. The forest was quiet, but Kayla's heart thumped loudly in her chest. The alien camp lay ahead, partially hidden by trees and fog. The glowing cages and faint hum of energy weapons made her skin tingle. Every step she took could be her last mistake. Kayla crouched behind a large boulder and studied the camp. Alien guards patrolled in tight circles, their glowing red eyes scanning the area. The Warlord moved among them, giving orders with sharp, strange gestures. The sight made Kayla swallow hard, but she did not step back. Eli's life depended on her. She spotted the cage. Eli sat inside, clutching the glowing stone tightly, his small face pale and fearful. When he saw Kayla's shadow, his eyes widened, hope sparking briefly in the midst of terror. Kayla waved softly, signaling him to stay calm. She would get him out. The first obstacle was a strange device near the cage, a hovering orb that pulsed with light. Kayla knelt, examining it carefully. It was a trap, likely set to alert the aliens if anyone approached. She took a deep breath and used a small metal tool from her pack, carefully disabling the device. Every click and beep seemed to echo loudly in the still air, but it remained off. Now, Kayla moved closer, staying low and silent. The guards were near, but not paying full attention. She timed her movements with the rhythm of their patrol, slipping from shadow to shadow. Her eyes never left Eli. Suddenly, one guard turned sharply, sensing something. Kayla froze, holding her breath. The alien's glowing eyes scanned the forest. Slowly it moved on. Kayla exhaled quietly. Too close. Too close. She adjusted her approach, moving with the precision of a shadow. She reached the cage and whispered softly to Eli, "Stay calm. I'm here to get you out." Eli nodded, clutching the stone tightly, as if it were a talisman. Kayla began working on the cage's lock, a strange alien mechanism she had never seen before. The clicks of her tool seemed deafening, but her hands moved steadily. A sudden sound made her look up. Another alien had appeared, stepping silently from the fog. Kayla's muscles tensed. One wrong move, and everything would be lost. She pressed herself against the cage, hidden from view. The alien paused, sniffing the air, and then moved on. Kayla's heart raced. This was a dangerous game. One mistake could cost Eli his life. Finally, the lock clicked. Kayla gently pushed the door open. Eli scrambled out, his small hands gripping hers tightly. "Come on," she whispered. "We must move." They slipped into the forest, keeping low and silent. The fog and trees were their allies now. The aliens began to notice something missing. The child. The cage empty. Alarm signals started to hum in the camp. Kayla kept moving, guiding Eli through narrow paths, past traps and sensors. Every step was tense. Every shadow could be a threat. Then a loud shout broke the silence. The Warlord had noticed them. He bellowed orders in his strange language, and a dozen guards surged into the forest, their energy weapons glowing brightly. Kayla's heart pounded. They had been discovered. She turned at Eli. "Run!" she shouted. They darted through the trees, dodging energy blasts that scorched the ground around them. Kayla guided Eli through hidden paths she had noticed earlier, small gaps in terrain only she could see. One alien leapt in front of them, its massive body blocking their way. Kayla acted quickly, using a small device to create a blinding flash. The alien screamed, recoiled, and stumbled back. Eli ducked behind her, trembling but trusting her completely. The Warlord's roar echoed through the forest. Kayla knew they could not fight him directly yet. Speed and strategy were their weapons. She led Eli toward a hidden creek she had seen earlier, the water covering their tracks. The aliens pursued, but the human instinct to survive pushed them forward, silent and determined. Finally, they reached a safe distance from the camp. Breathing heavily, Kayla pulled Eli behind a fallen tree. For a moment, all was quiet, except for the distant shouts and the hum of alien alarms. Eli looked up at her, eyes wide. "You saved me," he whispered. Kayla smiled faintly, but she knew the danger was far from over. They had survived the first encounter, but the Warlord and his army were still out there. The forest was thick, the paths uncertain, and the enemy relentless. Kayla's mind raced with plans for the next move. The rescue was only the first step. They had to escape the forest and get back to the settlement safely. And as they caught their breath, a shadow moved silently above them. A scout, watching, reporting back. The Warlord would know soon. Kayla looked at Eli, determination burning in her eyes. "Stay close. We are not done yet," she said. The forest whispered around them, the mist curling like fingers, hiding dangers and possibilities alike. One thing was certain. Kayla had shown the aliens that humans could fight back. The Warlord's plans would not go unchallenged. And for the first time, Eli felt a spark of hope in the darkness. The chase was far from over, but the rescue attempt had begun, and the human courage to define the coming battle had already taken its first bold step. The forest grew darker as the sun dipped behind the hills. Mist twisted around the trees like living shadows. Kayla and Eli ran through narrow paths, but they could feel the Warlord's presence closing in. Every rustle of leaves, every snapping twig made Kayla's muscles tense. The aliens were relentless. They would not let a human child escape easily. Suddenly, the trees opened up into a small clearing. The Warlord waited there, massive and terrifying. His dark armor shimmered under the faint light, and his glowing red eyes locked onto Kayla. Behind him, alien guards flanked the clearing, surrounding the humans. Kayla froze for a moment, assessing. The Warlord's presence was overwhelming, like standing in front of a storm. But fear could not stop her. She tightened her grip on her sword and whispered to Eli, "Stay behind me. Trust me." Eli nodded, small hands clutching hers tightly. The Warlord spoke in his alien tongue, a harsh, clicking language that made the hairs on Kayla's neck stand on end. The aliens around him echoed the words, a chorus of threat. Then he raised his weapon, a long, dark staff pulsing with energy. Kayla knew this fight would not be simple. Strength alone could not defeat him. She needed strategy. She circled slowly, looking for weak points in the formation. The Warlord was confident, moving in predictable patterns. Kayla noticed a slight delay in the guards' responses, small, almost invisible, but it was enough. Timing would be her weapon. The Warlord struck first, swinging his staff with incredible speed. Kayla dodged, rolling behind a tree. The ground shook with the force, branches snapping like brittle glass. Eli gasped but stayed low, trusting Kayla completely. Kayla lunged forward, targeting the nearest guard. With quick strikes, she disabled him silently, avoiding the glowing energy weapon. One by one, she moved like a shadow, using the environment to her advantage. Rocks, branches, and shadows became extensions of her strategy. The Warlord watched, curiosity flickering in his glowing eyes. He had not expected such cunning from a human. He attacked with precision, swinging his staff in wide arcs that could crush trees. Kayla dodged, her sword deflecting minor energy pulses. The clash of metal and energy lit the clearing like lightning. Eli watched from behind, eyes wide, fear and awe mixed on his face. He could feel Kayla's courage, her determination. Even in this terrifying moment, he believed she could win. The Warlord roared, frustration echoing through the forest. He had never faced an opponent like this, a human who moved faster than expected, striking with intelligence rather than brute force. Kayla noticed a pattern in his attacks, a rhythm. She adjusted, waiting for the perfect moment. Then she saw it, a weak point in his armor, near the joint of his staff. Kayla took a deep breath and feinted left, drawing the Warlord into a swing. As he overextended, she struck the joint with her sword, sending a shock of energy through the staff. The Warlord staggered, momentarily stunned. Kayla seized a chance. She moved forward, pushing past him and signaling Eli to run. The child dashed into the forest, following the path Kayla had scouted earlier. The Warlord roared in anger, but his focus was split, giving Kayla a small advantage. Kayla pressed her attack, using every trick she had learned while tracking the aliens. She disarmed guards, avoided energy blasts, and used the terrain to her advantage. The forest itself seemed to aid her, shadows hiding movements, branches slowing pursuers. But the Warlord was not defeated. He recovered quickly, swinging his staff with renewed fury. Kayla ducked, rolled, and struck again, careful to conserve her strength. Every moment was critical. The rescue depended on her skill, courage, and cleverness. Finally, Kayla and Eli reached a small ridge. They paused, catching their breath. Behind them, the Warlord roared in frustration, but he could not follow through the narrow paths and trees without exposing himself. Kayla looked at Eli, smiling faintly. "We've made it this far," she said, "but the fight isn't over yet." Eli's eyes shone with admiration and trust. "You're amazing," he whispered. Kayla shook her head, focusing on the path ahead. The Warlord would recover, and the alien forces were still numerous. But this confrontation had shown one truth clearly. Humans could fight, even against the most terrifying alien warriors. Kayla took Eli's hand firmly. "Stay close," she said. "We have more ground to cover, and we're not done yet." The forest seemed to hold its breath as they moved forward, every step a promise of courage and survival. And as the mist wrapped around them once again, Kayla knew that this confrontation was only the beginning. The Warlord had been challenged, and the humans had shown their strength. But the true test of cunning, courage, and the will to survive was still ahead. The forest seemed endless, a tangle of trees, mist, and shadows. Kayla and Eli moved carefully, every step measured, every sound analyzed. Behind them, the Warlord's roars echoed faintly, a reminder that danger was never far. But for the first time, Kayla felt that they had gained a small advantage. She led Eli through a narrow path she had noticed earlier, one hidden by thick vines and twisted roots. The path was risky, slippery, and uneven, but offered cover from the alien scouts. Eli followed closely, trusting her completely, despite the fear in his small eyes. Suddenly, Kayla froze. Ahead, a patrol of alien scouts had set up an ambush. Energy weapons glowed softly as the aliens waited for unsuspecting prey. Kayla scanned quickly. They were outnumbered, but she had an idea. She whispered to Eli, "Stay behind me. We'll distract them." Kayla picked up a small rock and threw it to the side, making it crash loudly against a tree. The aliens turned toward the sound, their glowing eyes scanning the forest. Kayla used the moment to dash through the undergrowth, Eli close behind. They ran like shadows, dodging branches and leaping over roots. The ambush had been avoided, but the Warlord's forces were still closing in. Kayla knew they needed more than speed. They needed a plan to stop the pursuit. She remembered the creek nearby, with its rushing water and hidden pools. If they could reach it, the noise and terrain could hide them from the aliens. They reached the creek, and Kayla's eyes lit up. The flowing water would cover their tracks. The uneven rocks would slow pursuers, and the dense trees along the banks would give them cover. She led Eli into the water, careful to keep his small body steady against the current. Behind them, the Warlord's patrol approached. They paused at the edge of the creek, frustrated by the noise and uneven terrain. Kayla had anticipated this. She grabbed a fallen branch and used it to push a loose boulder, sending it crashing into the water. The splash was enormous, scattering debris and creating a wall of noise. The aliens hesitated, confused. Kayla seized the opportunity. She led Eli upstream, moving silently through the shallow water. The forest seemed to help them, the mist swirling in their favor, hiding their escape. For the first time, Kayla felt that victory was possible. But the Warlord was not easily fooled. From the ridge above, he watched with his glowing eyes. Sensing their movement, he roared, and the forest seemed to tremble with the sound. Kayla knew he could not follow easily, but his scouts could, and they would not give up. Kayla took a deep breath and whispered to Eli, "Almost there. Stay calm." They moved carefully, avoiding slippery rocks and sudden drops. The creek led them to a hidden clearing she had seen before, a place where the forest opened just enough for a quick escape. As they emerged, Kayla noticed something unexpected. A group of human allies, villagers who had gathered quickly after learning of Eli's abduction. They carried simple weapons but moved with determination and courage. They had arrived just in time. The Warlord scouts approached the clearing, but the humans were ready. Stones, traps, and clever use of the environment slowed the aliens. Kayla and Eli moved to the line of defenders. The tension high as energy weapons flashed and shouted orders filled the air. Finally, they reached a safe spot, a hilltop overlooking the forest and the distant settlement. Kayla held Eli close, checking that he was unharmed. The child hugged her tightly, relief washing over his face. "You saved me," he whispered, voice trembling. Kayla smiled faintly, but her eyes scanned the horizon. The Warlord had been challenged, his forces delayed, and human courage had made a clear statement. Attacking humans was not without consequence. The turning point had come. The humans had gained the upper hand, showing strategy, courage, and resilience. The Warlord had underestimated them, and Kayla had proven that human intelligence and bravery could match alien strength. Kayla looked at Eli, and then at the villagers ready to defend their home. "We did it for now," she said. "But this is not the end. He will return, and we must be ready." The forest whispered around them, mist curling like protective fingers. The humans had survived the first battle, had rescued the child, and had shown the aliens that they were not weak. The turning point was clear. The Warlord's confidence had been shaken, and the humans' determination had grown stronger. Kayla felt a deep sense of pride, not for herself, but for the courage she had witnessed, the courage of humans standing together, facing impossible odds. The journey back to the settlement would be tense, but they had proven something essential. Humans could fight back, and even the smallest spark could ignite hope. And as the mist settled and the sun began to break through the clouds, Kayla, Eli, and the villagers prepared for what was next. The Warlord's headstrong plans had been challenged, and a new chapter in the battle between humans and aliens was about to begin. The humans had regrouped on the hilltop, catching their breath and planning their next move. Kayla held Eli close, her eyes scanning the forest below. The Warlord's forces were scattered, frustrated, and disorganized. Their confidence had been shaken, and human courage was stronger than they had expected. Kayla signaled to the villagers. They had set traps along the forest paths and prepared barricades near the settlement. Every action was designed to slow the aliens and protect their home. The humans were no longer just defending. They were taking the fight to the enemy. From a forest, a shadow moved. The Warlord appeared, massive and furious. His armor glimmered darkly, and his eyes burned with rage. "You dare defy me?" he shouted in his harsh, clicking tongue. His guards regrouped, but they hesitated, wary after seeing what humans had already accomplished. Kayla stepped forward, standing firmly. "Your fight is over," she said. Her voice carried authority and resolve. "You underestimated humans. That was your mistake." The Warlord roared in charge, swinging his staff with deadly force. Kayla dodged, using every skill she had learned during the chase and confrontation. The villagers fought bravely behind her, using clever traps and weapons to slow the aliens. The forest seemed alive with human determination. Kayla feinted left, luring the Warlord toward a narrow path lined with hidden spikes and traps. He stumbled over the obstacles, momentarily off balance. With a precise strike, Kayla aimed for the joint in his armor, the same weak point she had discovered earlier. Sparks flew as her blade connected, sending a shock of energy through his weapon. The Warlord staggered, his roar of fury turning into a scream of pain. He fell to his knees, stunned and weakened. The villagers seized the moment, surrounding him and ensuring he could not escape. Kayla's sword hovered over him, a symbol of human resilience and courage. For the first time, the Warlord looked vulnerable. His guards, seeing their leader defeated, hesitated and then fled into the forest, leaving the humans victorious. The battle had turned decisively. Humans had defended their own, and the enemy had been humbled. Kayla approached the Warlord, her expression steady and determined. She knew he could rise again, but for now, the victory was theirs. Carefully, she struck decisively, ensuring he could never threaten the settlement again. His head fell, a grim reminder of the cost of underestimating humanity. Eli watched silently, holding the glowing stone close. He had survived, thanks to Kayla's courage and the strength of the humans standing together. Tears of relief and awe ran down his cheeks. "You saved us," he whispered. Kayla smiled faintly, shaking her head. "We saved each other," she said. The humans carried the Warlord's head back to the council chamber, a symbol of their triumph and warning to anyone who might attack them in the future. The villagers celebrated quietly, but their minds were already turning toward rebuilding and preparation. They knew that more dangers could come, but now they understood the true strength of humans: courage, intelligence, and unity. In the council chamber, Elder Marin addressed the settlement. "Today, humans have proven something extraordinary," he said. "We were faced with fear, with a terrifying enemy, and we stood together. We showed that no force can break the human spirit. This victory is not just for Eli, it is for all of us." The child, Eli, stepped forward. His small hands rested on the glowing stone. "I saw courage today," he said, his voice clear. "I saw humans fight for each other. And I want to be brave too, like Kayla." The room filled with quiet pride and understanding. Kayla looked out the window at the hills and forest beyond. The Warlord's threat had ended, but the galaxy remained vast and dangerous. More enemies had come, but humans had learned a valuable lesson. Even in the darkest moments, courage and unity could turn the tide. As night fell, the settlement was calm again. The stars shone above, and the forest whispered softly in the distance. Humans had faced a seemingly impossible challenge and emerged victorious. The story of the child, the warrior, and the warlord will be told for generations. A tale of bravery, strategy, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Eli slept safely that night, dreaming not of fear but of hope. Kayla watched over him, knowing that this triumph was only one chapter in a much larger story. Humans had survived, humans had fought, and humans had triumphed. The message was clear. No matter the enemy, no matter the danger, humanity would stand tall. The galaxy could take note. Humans were not weak. Humans were not easy prey. Humans were fighters, thinkers, and survivors. And today, they had proven it. The settlement was quiet again, but the air was heavy with relief and tension. Fires burned softly in chimneys, and villagers moved carefully through the streets, repairing what had been damaged during the raid. The warlord was defeated, yet the galaxy still felt vast and dangerous. Humans knew this victory was only the beginning. Kayla walked through the village with Eli close at her side. The child held the glowing stone tightly, staring at it as if it carried secrets beyond his understanding. "Is it really over?" he asked quietly. Kayla shook her head, a small smile on her lips. "For now," she replied, "but we must always be ready. The universe is full of threats we cannot even imagine." Inside the council chamber, Elder Marin addressed the gathered humans. "Today we faced a fearsome enemy," he said, his voice calm but commanding. "We lost nothing this time, thanks to bravery, quick thinking, and unity. Let this be a lesson. We can survive, and we can fight back, no matter the odds." The villagers nodded, their pride evident. Mothers hugged their children tightly, and fathers glanced toward the horizon, knowing the stars held dangers yet unseen. The humans had won, but the memory of the alien attack lingered. The forest, once peaceful, now seemed to whisper reminders of the enemies that had fallen, and of those that still waited. Kayla led Eli to the edge of the forest where they had escaped. The trees stood tall, shadows stretching like silent sentinels. "Do you understand what we did?" she asked him. Eli nodded slowly. "We fought," he said, "and we won. But there are more out there, aren't there?" Kayla's eyes met his. "Yes," she said, "and we must be ready when they come." Humans do not wait for danger. Humans act. As night fell, the stars appeared, scattered across the dark sky like distant eyes watching the world below. Kayla stood silently, thinking of the galaxy beyond their planet. The warlord's defeat was significant, but Kayla knew intelligence reports suggested other alien fleets and mysterious forces moving across the stars. This battle had been a warning. Humans were strong, and they were awake. Suddenly, the glowing stone in Eli's hands pulsed faintly. Eli looked at Kayla, eyes wide. The stone had reacted during the fight, and now it seemed to call out again. Kayla frowned, curiosity mixing with caution. "We need to understand it," she said. "This might be more than a weapon. It might be a key or a warning." The village remained calm, but Kayla could feel the undercurrent of vigilance. Humans had tasted victory, but they had also realized the stakes were far higher than they had imagined. Even in triumph, they had to prepare for what came next. In the distance, faint lights flickered among the trees. The scouts had retreated, but Kayla knew the Warlord was not the only alien threat. Others would come, curious about the humans who dared to resist. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just sent a message. They would not be easy prey. Kayla returned to the council chamber and shared her observations. Maps were drawn, patrols increased, and strategies planned. The humans were learning quickly, adapting to challenges that had once seemed impossible. Courage alone was not enough. They needed intelligence, teamwork, and foresight. Eli, exhausted but awake, gazed at the stars. "Will they come back?" he whispered. Kayla crouched beside him. "Yes," she said gently. "But when they do, we will be ready. Humans always are." She placed a hand on his shoulder, firm and comforting. "And we will face them together." The night deepened. Fires burned low in the village, but inside, the humans were awake, minds alert, hearts strong. The story of the child, the warrior, and the warlord had ended, but the story of humanity's courage in the galaxy was only beginning. In the shadows beyond the hills, unknown observers watched. Alien ships, strange symbols, and unfamiliar eyes scanned the settlement. They had heard of the warlord's defeat. They had seen humans fight. And now, curiosity mixed with caution, the galaxy had awakened to the human spirit, and no enemy would underestimate them again. Kayla looked at Eli at the stars at the quiet village below. "This is just the start," she whispered. And in that moment, humans knew one truth: courage, unity, and intelligence were more powerful than fear. The galaxy would remember this day, and the humans who dare to fight back. The stars shimmered above, quiet and infinite. The humans had triumphed, but they would remain vigilant. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns, but humanity was ready to meet it head-on.